All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Legacy Evolution Deluxe Class Insecticon Bombshell. All right, about time. We finally got our third Insecticon here, finishing off the original trio. Now it would just be really nice if we could get the rest of those Deluxe Insecticons. That would be really cool since we got Ransack. Now it seems like, because this one is, this mold is basically like half of the same mold as Shrapnel. So if they use Shrapnel and Bombshell to be to be Barrage and Chop Chop and maybe also Venom, I don't know, then almost all of them will be this mold except for Kickback and Ransack. But yeah, no, pretty decent. There is some things changed from the Shrapnel mold. Really, it's just the legs down and like the shoulders down are all the same. But the transformation is quite different just because of how the body works. Well, it's a bit different. And yeah, here we have Bombshell in his Rhinoceros Beetle mode. And yeah, it looks good for the most part. I've definitely gotten used to the whole aesthetic of like, round-backed Bombshell. So to have it kind of like boxy here at the end, more, because it's using the same leg pieces as Shrapnel, definitely throws me off a little bit, but it's not inaccurate to how the original Bombshell toy was. Really, it's just like, oh yeah, the feet are sticking out of the back, which isn't really quite the same, and these little spikes are sticking up, which isn't quite the same, but otherwise it's not all that off. So it's a decent bug mode. I think, like the other ones, this is definitely going with the G1 aesthetic of that like Diaclone thing of like, oh yeah, these are like little spaceships that look like bugs rather than like hard and fast actual bug modes. Like they don't really have insectoid legs or anything like that. But it's decent. I'm happy that we got the little yellow circles on the side there. I will say it's kind of a bummer that you can sort of see his robot mode head in there. Like you can definitely see the red in his eyes, which yeah, I wish they'd find some way to cover that up, or like taking these pieces that end up on the shoulders and give them some sort of like joint there so they could like fill in and kind of like hide the head like they've done on previous Bombshell designs. But it's not the end of the world. It's a pretty decent bug mode, all things considered. He, of course, comes with his little gun here, which I always thought was really funny that, like, Bombshell comes with a gun that is basically his, like, horn, right? But it's not ever implied to be the same part, because usually he's holding this gun while this is sticking off the top of his head. So very strange, but whatever. Storage, it's just the usual, kind of dumb, just peg it on top kind of storage, which I'm not crazy about, but I also don't really need him to have this gun, so it doesn't bother me all that much. I'll just put this in a box. He's got some other things that, like Shrapnel, end up being his, back bug legs here. He can hold these as little weapons as well in robot mode. But yeah, decent enough bug mode. In terms of size comparisons, just for the standard one, here he is with the Kingdom Sideswipe, just so you can see what he looks like with an average size Deluxe there. Here he is with the previous Bombshell, the Combiner Wars one. And like I said, I kind of think bug mode on the old one wins a little bit, just in terms of like, even if they weren't doing the bug legs, which, it's fine. This is more G1 accurate. I do really prefer the rounded back, so it actually looks a little bit more beetly. So I'd say I definitely prefer this one, but either of them look good, I'd say. And then in terms of the other Insecticons that we've gotten from Legacy, here he is with Kickback and Shrapnel, just so you can see all three of them together. And then why not? We might as well just get all six of them on here. The old versions and the new versions, the legend scale ones. I know, like, I don't personally do this, but if you wanted to use these guys as like the Insecticon clones, because they like cloned themselves in the show to like army build, you could certainly do that. I don't know if I'd prefer to do that, but you've got them as an option. I think they all look good together. And yeah, I think the three main guys look good together as well. I think that this trio turned out pretty well. Like I said, it's a little bit of a bummer that, like, it's obvious that Bombshell and Shrapnel share some bits, because then Kickback kind of feels like the odd man out. But I think they all look good together regardless. And just to point out some of the differences between Bombshell and Shrapnel in particular, you can see it's all the same back section here, just the painted detail is picked out in different spots just to kind of differentiate them. And then, Shrapnel kind of transforms by having his arms just kind of tab onto the side here and have it like that, whereas Bombshells go underneath. So there is a bit of difference, even though they are like half of the same mold. But, I still think that they look good together regardless. And yeah, in terms of articulation for the bug mode, the little, horn piece, I mean, I don't think this would really be articulated on an actual rhinoceros beetle, but it is on a little soft ratchet here, so you can bend that up and down. The front legs here do clip into place, and he's actually packaged without these clipped into place, so I thought it just like sat like that, and these were just kind of loose. I mean, they're not like floppy loose, but they don't lock in or anything. But yeah, no, if you're, wondering if those lock in, you can actually click them into place so they stay still. I'm kind of wondering why those have articulation at all, since like, they end up locked like that in both modes anyway, but they do have a bit of movement there, which is kind of funny because it's like, then it makes it look like, oh, 2 articulated front legs, which makes it look like he's only got 4 legs, whereas this is supposed to be, the sculpting for this is supposed to be the front two sets of legs. Like this little tiny hinge bit here is supposed to be the middle leg, but whatever. And that's about it. Obviously not a ton of articulation. It's pretty much just a little boxy insect. But yeah, in terms of transformation, first things first, you just want to unlock the arms from here. They actually lock in both, they're pegged into the back of the thighs and pegged into these panels here, which is, these slots, even though they're the same mold as shrapnel, these existed on the original mold just with nothing to tab into them. So I guess if we were really, paying attention to things, we could have seen that coming. But I find it helps to kind of like rotate them out. And again, they can be kind of tricky to lock back into insect mode. So I usually start with the tab on the legs and just kind of work it in there and then bring this down till you can clip it into place. And it's become a little bit easier as I've done it. So you just want to rotate those out like that. And then on the yellow bit here, they'll rotate forward. And then we can take the entire back section, obviously just like shrapnel. You just kind of double hinge the legs down here just like that and rotate them around at the waist. Then we can untab the legs, flip up the feet, and then bring these panels forward and they'll clip into place there. They have a much more solid clip than shrapnel's did. I mean, shrapnel stayed fine too, but there's much more of an audible, like actual click for Bombshell for whatever reason. And then for the arms here, you can just rotate them forward, rotate out the hands here, and then you can take the little guns if you want to leave them there and just rotate them up like this is what I prefer to do. Just do that on both sides. And then last but not least, you take his little head section here and just rotate it back and then flip this forward. Now there's a few locking points. You can kind of see back here, it's got like detents sculpted into the silver piece. So you can have it like that, or the next one up is like that. I kind of prefer somewhere in the middle so you can see a bit more of his forehead detail, but I think it's supposed to be like that. But you can kind of get it to stop in between regardless. So that's what I prefer to do. And yeah, there we have Bombshell in his robot mode. Let me just adjust the camera here. And yeah, he looks pretty good. Just like the previous ones, he's pretty simple, but even though he's simple, he manages to be pretty accurate just because the original G1 toys were pretty simple as well. Yeah, no, decent. He's definitely maybe a little bit boxier than I prefer Bombshell to be, but he does have that nice rounded torso there. And as soon as they're, doing like super accurate kind of G1 Insecticons, I was a little bit worried that they were going to go with the cartoon aesthetic for Bombshell, where like in bug mode, he was purple chested, but then he was gray chested in robot mode. And regardless if they're doing any like clever color switching tricks or whatever, I've just always preferred the design of Bombshell with the purple chest. I just think it looks so much more like impressive. I don't know, dynamic. It's just better. It's just having a flash of color on there is so much nicer to me. But yeah, no, I think he looks pretty good. He's got the usual problem with Bombshell where like it's hard to kind of make the head design work where it can actually feasibly transform and not look a little bit like big and goofy in robot mode. But I think he wears it well. In terms of articulation, the head is on a swivel. It brings the whole thing with it, so that works pretty well. The shoulders are on universal joints, so they can swivel around like that, hinge out to the side. I guess if you unclick these legs here, you can bring them even more out to the side. Maybe that's why that does that. I don't know. You do, for transformation, get a bit of like backwards butterfly joint if you want to use that, although it does lock into place. He's got bicep swivel, little over 90 degrees of bend at the elbow there. The wrists can only bend in just like that. Waist swivel for transformation. Hips can go forward, back, out to the side. Thigh swivel, like a degree or two over 90 degrees of bend at the knee. And then the feet, the toes themselves, they can tilt down a little bit. They can't really tilt up because they run into stuff. And then obviously you've got that ankle tilt there. If you ankle tilt it up, then they can. Oh no, I guess they can. I was thinking if you use the ankle tilt, then they could tilt up a little bit, but nope, just tilts down. So yeah, pretty decent articulation. Not surprising. I mean, all the actual joints and stuff are more or less the same as shrapnel, so it's about the same as shrapnel. Obviously, you can give him his little gun here, which he can hold in his hand, and I think that looks pretty good. Or if you want to store it, oh, look at that. I didn't even notice that. He doesn't have the peg on his back. So I guess you could store it on the back of his leg. So you could do that. I mean, it kind of messes with knee articulation, but it moves out of the way for the most part. I don't know. I wasn't even thinking to look for that, to be honest, just because I was going to put this in a box regardless. But yeah, they took away the peg hole in the back. That's an odd choice. So you can't just peg it in like that. Does this like lock in there or something? No? Yeah, that's weird. Okay, good to know, I guess. And then if you want to give him these guns, they don't look quite as good, I don't think, as Shrapnel's leg guns, but they're okay. You can do that. You can give them both of them in each hand like that, or if you wanted to, you could like put them both in one hand for like a different kind of blaster. I think that's kind of a cool look. But either way, neat idea there to have the bug legs be extra guns instead of just kind of being, superfluous bug legs off the side of the arms and just being kibbly bits. So pretty decent weapon stuff there. In terms of comparisons in this mode, first of all, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe dropping. I really need a better recording setup since I'm constantly knocking figures off of the table over here. There he is with Sideswipe for a standard size deluxe comparison. You can see pretty average size, pretty much the same size as the other Insecticons, makes sense. Here he is again with Combiner Wars. I had to think about that for a second. With Combiner Wars Bombshell, so you can see the previous version there. And like I said, they're both decent little figures here, but I definitely prefer this one for size alone, honestly. And he doesn't have the whole stupid like gun hands thing and the big peg sticking out of his knees because he was like kind of supposed to be like a blaster or something for combiners, but they didn't even really ever like advertise that for him in particular, so that was always kind of weird. But just a more sort of vanilla Bombshell is definitely what I prefer, but they look good together. And then at long last, here are our three main deluxe Insecticons here. Not to be confused with the deluxe Insecticons from G1. They're deluxe now, but you know what I mean. But yeah, no, I think they look super good together. Obviously, he shares a lot of parts with Shrapnel, but all of the main sort of eye-catching relevant parts, like the main body and the head and everything like that, are different. So it is, it doesn't look quite like it's two of them sharing a lot of parts and then one just the odd man out, even though that is the case. Like if you look at him with Shrapnel, he pretty much just the main body and the shoulders are different, and then everything else is the same. Everything the waist down is the same. Everything the shoulders down is the same. And yeah, and then obviously, not the weapons, but still. So, shares a lot of parts, but like I said, all the big relevant parts are different. And then there they are with all of their previous counterparts as well, just so you can see what that looks like. Definitely not in the middle of the frame here. But yeah, no, I think that's a pretty good display option there. And then just for a bit of fun, here they are with Megatron, just so you can see what they look like with their boss man there. But yeah, not a whole lot else to say about him. Just like these guys, simple, but gets the job done. Definitely an adequate little Bombshell figure, and I think, gosh, I'm knocking everything over today. And I think it works pretty well. I've definitely been, excited to finally get all three of the Insecticons as deluxes for a while now, so it's great to finally have that done. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to them. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Make sure to check me out on my Instagram account. That's toys.n.art. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Legacy Evolution Deluxe Class Insecticon Bombshell.